Hi, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Rick Reese, health coach with HMR. And tonight I'm joined by staff members and program members from Lift Weight Management, an HMR program in Jackson, Tennessee. Guys, thank you for being here tonight for this conversation. How's everyone doing?
We're good. Thanks for having us.
Oh, absolutely. So our theme tonight, which we will eventually get to, is staying on track while traveling. But let's just take a minute right up front here. Andrea and Kerry, you guys work at the program. Just take a minute, tell us about your clinic and your roles there, and then we'll hear from Spencer and Sara.
Okay. Hey, I'll go first. So I'm Andrea. I'm the administrative manager here at the Lift with the HMR program. I've been here about going on 2 years. I was the health coach and then transitioned into the manager position. But again, Lift Weight Management, we're in the Lift Wellness Facility located in Jackson, Tennessee.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm Carrie. I'm the health educator or health coach. They can be used interchangeably. I'm the one that teaches classes and I see the patients every Monday and Tuesday. And I actually just had my 1-year work anniversary last week. So I've been here a full year.
Very good. Is there any other news you want to share with us? So just recent events?
Just recently got married.
Not a big
deal. Yeah, not a big deal at all.
Yeah. I think that's our official cue for our audience to start putting some comments in the comments section. Congratulate Kerry, if you could, on her recent nuptials.
Thank you.
All right. So Spencer and Sara, we're going to hear your stories, the full stories in a little while. Maybe you could just sort of tease us a little bit, just overviewing your experience in the program. Spencer, how much weight have you lost? And then I'll also, sometimes we like to ask this question, is there a phrase or a word that comes to mind that helps to describe your experience so far?
Definitely. So evening, everybody. I'm Spencer. I've lost 84 pounds as of this last Monday. And I think the best word would probably be simple. In the grand scheme of things, I never really imagined that I'd weigh the weight I do now, and then kind of how easy the program was to follow.
That's if there's a word to choose that makes me smile, that might be towards the top of the list. Simplicity with losing all that weight. My God, that's incredible. Quick hello to Candace, Susan, and Bob, just some of our regulars, among others. I won't take time to read everyone. Sara, you are now in phase 2, right? But it's been a journey. Can you give us a couple of headlines about what you've accomplished in the program?
Sure. So I have lost 150 pounds and I think I've been at Lift weight loss longer than Andrea and Spencer, everybody. I'm kind of the old timer. So I started back in October 2017. And I was in phase 1 for probably 2 years. And then I've been in phase 2 and just sort of slowly taking my time with it. And so I still love the program and love HMR.
Have you lost any weight?
150 pounds.
Oh,
yeah.
glad you added that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, we're going to hear more from both of you about your experience and whatnot. I just want to preview our traveling focus. I don't know if you guys heard, fresh off the presses from the man himself, Dr. Fauci has officially said, and he's pretty conservative in his statements. He has now officially said the pandemic is over. We're now in more of a transition phase. Well, we thought it was timely to focus on traveling, given that restrictions are being lifted. I do have to share with you guys, I've not told even our guests here this. I was on a Delta flight just a couple of weeks ago. They had just announced that people no longer needed to wear masks on their planes. You should have seen the celebrations and the hooting and hollering. And I'm talking about the flight staff. Can you imagine what their job was like with all the masks? Just a nightmare. So society is opening up now more than ever. And whatever your plans, speaking to our audience, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be out and about more often this summer, certainly more than you have been in the past couple of summers. So just a little bit more on that. I'll just share one more quickie here from the New York Times. Look at this headline. Travel's theme for 2022, go big. Talk about the travel industry is looking for a significant rebound. Bookings were up over 130% for Easter Passover weekend. But here's the real line from this article. You ready? 2022 will be the year that we wring every bit of richness and meaning out of our experiences. I don't know, guys, but I can't imagine squeezing the richness out of life would have anything at all to do with food or food, right?
No.
Not at all, right? Yeah, I think travel is going to make things very difficult for people if they don't have a plan. So that's why we want to talk about this and have you guys share your strategies, really have a collective brainstorm about what are some things that can make a difference. So that if you are traveling, whether it's a little bit or for a little more protracted period of time, you're not giving back some of the results that you work so hard to accomplish in the program. So we'll get to that. But first, let's get into hearing a little bit more from Spencer and Sara. So Andrea, Carrie, you guys have had a chance to work with our guests here. Do you guys want to take over with some of the questions?
Yep. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about, for Sara and Spencer, your experience before HMR. So Spencer, we'll go with you first. So just tell us a little bit more about your health compromises that you were dealing with before HMR. High blood pressure, your experience with cancer, even if you just kind of want to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, by the grace of God, in 2017, I got to survive cancer for the second time. And then kind of since that process, I guess you would call it the recovery mode. I kind of built up to the largest I'd probably ever been from a physical weight standard. And then, before starting HMR, I just kind of decided like, hey, I'm going to control what I can control, because there's some things that I can't. There's some things that come up that you can't control. What I can control, what I eat and what I do to, lose weight and overall have a healthier lifestyle. And along with that, I had high blood pressure, and that has come down. Mobility, just a lot of things have kind of improved since then. But I was just kind of making a life choice to control what I could control.
Yeah.
Wow. You certainly had a lot going on there, Spencer, didn't you?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Amazing.
Boy, it was kind of like a fork in the road. I mean, such a burden, all of that you were dealing with. And you took the unusual path of like taking the reins as much as you could and really sort of asserting yourself in the driver's seat of your lifestyle. Congratulations for taking that road. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay. So Sara, if you just want to talk a little bit about your health before HMR and how you wanted things to change.
Sure. Well, I think I not as dramatic as Spencer, but I think I was really dodging a bullet, truthfully, before HMR. I was very much overweight, but I didn't have any health problems, like high blood pressure. Yeah, I think it's a big yet, it was just coming. And my parents, they had sleep apnea and diabetes and everything, bad knees, it was all coming. And so I was kind of a active overweight. I played tennis, but I think the thing for me is that I really didn't realize exactly how my life was being held back by weight and how unhealthy I really was, until I lost weight. It's like they say, you don't know how skinny feels until you really get close to that. And so I can just tell you that the feeling of losing 150 pounds, you're just a different person. And you just don't realize you're slow and it's hard to climb stairs, and just the things that we do every day are so much easier, and you don't even realize what problems you have,
I can just tell you, so many people I'm sure listening and who will watch this, after this event can relate to what both of you guys have shared. The effects of lifestyle can sometimes be very progressive. Kind of, you were maybe unaware of it, Sara, the
Right.
fact that there were some compromises you weren't that aware of because maybe it happened over time.
Right. Right.
It's nice to see that the weight loss was quick. So it was probably pretty striking to see
Yes.
the differences. Yeah, so I think people can really relate to what you guys are sharing. And I also can say there are many people who I recognize their names who are in the feed here who have experienced similar quality of life improvements after having experienced some similar quality of life compromises. So I'll invite our audience just a word, phrase, what was life like for you before HMR that had you saying, that's it, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to make a change. You can never revisit those dark days enough. And if for those of you who are newer to HMR, you have company, but also know that there's so much that you can do to improve virtually any compromises you may be experiencing with your quality of life. I just wanted to make that point, Andrea.
Yeah, no, hey, Rick, and I will say, by doing the information sessions that I see, people that do come in,
Yeah.
when I ask them, what brings you here, I would say 90%, it's not even about weight loss. It's about bigger things than just weight loss. Is that great? Yes, but it's about lowering blood pressure, just being able to exercise more, feel better about themselves. So
Yep. My main man, Shane, who's such a supporter of HMR. Shane has lost, keeping off somewhere around 150, 160 pounds for 4 or 5 years now. He says it was miserable and uncomfortable. I mean, what more can you say? That's really well said. Sick and tired, Melissa added in here. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. She added that. All right, continue with our questions.
Okay, so now Spencer, we're going to talk a little bit about your experience in phase 1. So you mentioned that weight loss was easy for you, that it was easy to do. So just kind of explain why it was easy for you.
Definitely. So the plan is relatively simple to follow. And I like that. I'm pretty simple and I like my little things going on. But being able to have flexibility and simplicity at the same time, if I get hungry, you're not on a time schedule where you eat at this time or that time, or, you can't eat this time, can't eat that time. So if I'm hungry, I just eat. And for me, it's vegetables, but just got to make sure you're eating the right stuff and the things that point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Just to insert, so Spencer, you're on the Healthy Solutions Plan. Both of you are on the Healthy Solutions Plan with the HMR foods plus fruits and vegetables. Though we do have, and maybe some people watching are on the Decision-Free Plan in phase 1, where it's just HMR foods as your tools for weight loss.
Yeah, and I will say, bragging rights for Spencer, he's very humble, but he gets about 80 servings of fruits and veggies a week.
Wow, 80
on average. Yeah,
that's impressive.
That's the more is better concept.
Yeah. So Spencer, tell us a little bit about how you utilize that more is better in helping you feel full and satisfied.
Yeah,
definitely. So for me, I guess I've always kind of liked fruits and vegetables, but they've always been like the side thing. And now I've kind of made them the main course. And I kind of have them structured out. I have my Brussels sprouts every day. And I have everything planned out, especially, if I know I'm going somewhere or going out to eat or something, I'll just eat a bunch of cuties or, whatever the vegetable of the week may be for me. And just kind of use that to fill up, as we go into whatever we got going on.
Good.
Hey, I'm curious. Can you just ballpark it? What was your veggie fruit intake like before HMR?
If we go back 10 years ago, probably none. And then here's some of my experiences. Vegetables are good for you. When you go through some things that are troubling from a health perspective. So I've always kind of eaten them, but I would probably say the last 5 or 6 years, it probably hasn't been 10 to 15 servings a week. Not 80, no, by no means.
It's easy to have a day that go by and you have no fruits or veggies. If you're not working it in, boy, it's just that no one's handing them to you. That's for sure.
Yep.
Some great comments, by the way, guys, that after the fact, you're going to need to read some of the quality of life compromises that people sharing are really great here. So generous. Jennifer, John always has a way with words, guys. I won't read the whole thing, just the first sentence. My health before HMR stunk. That's it. That about says it right there. All right, continue.
Okay, now Sarah. So when you first started, you shared that you just didn't think it was going to work. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I went to the information session and, I think one of the things that a lot of people like me have done a ton of different diets over time. And so we kind of get it drilled into our head that you cannot, this is the thing that was in my head, that there is no diet that you can eat a potato in. I don't know why, but I thought potatoes the devil, you cannot eat a potato. And I remember that in the very first day after I signed up, I was like, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to be able to eat all this food and still lose weight. And I met with we had a nurse that took our blood, for at the beginning. And she said, oh, you're going to love it because you can have a baked potato with a chili entree on it. And it's the best thing. And you've got to eat this. And I thought, this is no diet. I'm never going to lose some weight, and I ate that. I ate a potato every day, for like the first month for sure. And I lost. So, right off the bat, how it is, you lose a lot, and then even the first week, I still didn't believe it because I thought, well, that's just water weight, but then the next week I did it again and the next week. And so, it's just kind of hard to understand that, if you're eating the right things, your calorie intake is so low, even a potato is not going to hold you back from losing weight,
Sarah, in a world of pizza, fried chicken, and chips everywhere, how did the lowly potato and banana become so maligned?
I know.
I'll never understand it.
I don't know, but we all think those are really just terribly bad for you, although we don't think twice about putting a bunch of salad dressing or something all over our healthy salad.
No doubt.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Sarah and Spencer. So just if whoever wants to go, just talk to us about what you feel were the most important aspects of the program in phase 1. So whether it's simplicity, more is better, the fast weight loss, whatever you experienced.
Well, for me, I think actually, I guess it would be 2 things, but I really like the box. I like to be in the box. I like the idea of these are my foods. It was helpful to me throughout phase 1 to think this is my food. It's in my box and this is someone else's box. These foods are not for me. And I think I could really keep myself on track by just thinking these are my foods and this is what I do. And I can eat as much of that as my box can be giant and filled with stuff, but as long as it's in the box, and that to me was different than any other diet because you don't feel deprived because you can eat as much as you want. And, I felt like over the 2 years that I lost that 150 pounds, I was never hungry. Like I was full. I could say almost I was full all the time. Anytime I thought about food, I had I guess we're cutie people. I had cuties, and I would eat them at work or whatever. But the thing about it is that one of the most important aspects to me, there's a lot of different things but if I just had to really drill it down, I think the fact that you can be a volume eater and be on this diet and lose just a really tremendous amount of weight is different than anything else that you can experience.
Yep.
I agree. And cuties just feel better. That's just the way it is. But just like Sarah said, I think structure is I think that's a key, especially if you're starting something new, phase 1, having something that's like pretty detailed. The box is the box. It's not like black or gray. So I think that's definitely important.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yep.
Tanya in our comments agrees. I like that. This is my box. Yes. And congratulations to both of you, she said.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tell me where you want to go next, guys, with the conversation.
Okay. Carrie, do you want to take over?
Yeah. So I just want Sarah and Spencer to kind of reflect on the classes and the accountability that the classes provide and the coaching. You guys both have been enrolled in weekly classes. So Spencer, if you want to go first, you just kind of reflect on what classes and the coaching has done for you.
Definitely. That's definitely part when we did the information session, I was like, a class. I don't know about this, but it's definitely probably been one of the more crucial parts, I feel, just the accountability piece, not just from if you're out of the box or if you didn't meet a minimum or something like that. You definitely talk about that kind of stuff, but you also get to talk through solutions with somebody that may have had a really good week, or somebody may have tried some recipe that's, brings a little bit of, different structure, or not structure, but a different taste in. So just being able to have those that go back and forth is really good. And our class in particular gets really fun. It's really competitive. It's seeing who can eat the most, vegetables, or, who can get the most PA, whoever the winner is. Competitiveness is huge. So definitely a good experience.
Yeah, I would say that the same too. I think like Spencer, I felt like, and our classes at the time that I started, I feel like they were longer than they are now. I think they were like an hour and a half. And that's a big chunk of time, especially right after work. You feel like, okay, I'd really just like to go home, or I could work out, or anything but sit in a room and talk about diet, but the classes, you've got accountability in terms of the coaches who are so knowledgeable and helpful with ideas on how to do things, but also just the other people in the class, they bring other ideas. And I felt like I was with them and that I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let my coaches down, and I didn't want to let my class down by, getting out of the box and having your information where everybody can see it. I think that's important, even though sometimes I feel like I don't want it up there, but it's okay. But I've been in the class where, somebody said, look, I'm going to an event next week and I'm just planning on getting out of the box, sorry. And we would talk about it in class, not in a confrontational way, but, the coach would say, well, what could she do before she goes to the wedding that might help her stay in the box? And so, well, what about eating like a triple shake? You'll be so full that food won't look good to you. And what's amazing is that, 9 times out of 10, when that person would come back to class the very next week, they would be so proud to report to us, guess what? I ate that triple shake. I did not get out of the box and I lost weight this week, And so it's just that, that if you didn't have the people that were trying to help you come up with ideas and supporting you, and we applauded and celebrated the fact that person had a big, special event and they made it through. And so I think that's just more important than you really understand at the time you're doing it.
That's great. Hey, I want to just add in here, we've got some folks who are chomping at the bit to hear about the travel strategies that you guys have employed. Marcia, Karen, we see that you're wanting us to get there. Gretchen, same thing. We're going to get there in just a moment. Carrie and Andrea, maybe we could just have Sara speak briefly about her experience in phase 2, maybe just tease a few of those. And then we already heard about some of the quality of life improvements. We can then jump right into the travel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the big thing that I think is the most important part when it comes to phase 2, and Sara can definitely talk about this, is the transition process to phase 2. So if you don't mind just touching base on that and how the transition process was for you.
Sure. Yeah, I think here in transitioning from phase 1 to phase 2 is really important to have your coaches help, truthfully. And I think that you need to take it slow, because we've been working on these habits that and that have become, our lifestyle as of phase 1, but we're going to be changing them slightly. And so I think one of the things that Carrie told me one time, that of course I'm all about the box, and she said, in phase 2, your box is just a little bit bigger box. And when I got that in my head, because it's overwhelming, like when you're switching from phase 1 to phase 2, you're like, I really want to protect my weight loss, and I'm scared to, go there and gain weight. And but if you do it very slowly and you control yourself, and you realize that, okay, yeah, my box is bigger, and on occasion, maybe my box would allow me to have a special cake or pizza or something, but really and truly my everyday box includes, healthy fruits and vegetables, the same stuff I was eating before, but maybe just a little bit more expanded to include some chicken, or something measured, healthy grains, things like that. And so I think phase 2 is scary, but it's good. And it's nice to include these new, quinoa, like that's a treat now. And so, but I think that taking it slow is the key to that.
Yeah.
That's probably the best advice as it relates to the transition. That's wonderful. I'm going to jump in. Carrie, Andrea, you cool? I'm going to transition us into the travel as part of this. Both of you guys have really interesting stories here, some really successful strategies, but I also want to invite our audience. Many of you have the experience back in phase one of staying in the box while you were away from home, whether it was for a day trip or for an extended vacation. We want to hear the things that worked for you. We are all prepared to share our best strategies as well. And people are traveling. I'll just say one more. This is a Fortune magazine article where they introduced this concept. It's right in the title here of revenge travel. I've never heard that phrase before. Their whole point is people feel robbed of their vacations and their time away, and they really, really want to make up for it. And travel has moved from being what was once historically a want is now being reclassified as a need. People really feel they need to get away. So I just want to make sure we're clear that our definition of travel for this discussion, we want to cast the net wide. As I had just said, it can be leaving your home for a day trip, going across state, upstate to the beach, or it can be when you're really going somewhere. Maybe you're going to London, or maybe you're going to the Bahamas. Bottom line is, if you're away from home, you've got to have a plan that goes beyond just hoping that it goes well. So Spencer and Sarah, you both have experiences being in the box when traveling. We're going to get into your strategies in just a moment, but any strategies, kind of speaking to the audience here, no matter how good they are, they're going to be limited in their effectiveness if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't bring the urgency that's required, because it's tough when you're traveling to stay on track, whether you're in phase one or phase two. So guys, let's go there. Let's talk about mindset for a minute. Spencer and then Sarah, take us through your thought process. You both made the decision to be in the box. So Spencer, why did you want to stay in the box when you were traveling? And then we're going to hear about the type of travel you did.
Definitely. So you mentioned having the right mindset. I think, you definitely have to be, determined. For me, I didn't want to take a step backwards. So I didn't want to see a week of weight loss or anything to put me behind kind of where my goals were and what I was going for. Definitely when you see week after week results, you don't want to stop those. So that's kind of my motivation for staying in the box and moving forward. So
that's good motivation, avoiding the 3 steps forward, 2 steps backward phenomenon, especially when those 3 steps forward take so much time and effort. Sarah, what would you add? Why were you committed to staying in the box?
I would add to that, and I think Spencer hit it right on the nail in the very first thing that he said. But what I would add to that is that people who have lost weight, once you know how good it feels, especially traveling, you feel when you've lost weight, the difference in traveling, when with 150 extra pounds, getting on a plane is very uncomfortable and embarrassing potentially, with the seatbelt. And I remember getting on the plane when I had lost 50 pounds and being thrilled to look down and have a little extra on that seatbelt, And so I think once you experience that at all, you say it is a little bit addictive. You say, I want to stay in this box and get this weight off. There's no food that tastes as good as it feels to buckle your seatbelt on a plane, And so once you get that kind of idea that I've got it and I need to stick with it, you don't want to just throw it away for some food, There's no food that tastes that good.
Yep. But it's also very easy to say, well, I'm going to try my best and things will just hopefully work out. And, that sort of already is a first step down the potentially slippery slope of it not going well. You really need to offer this book.
It's just a bite. I feel like that's that's a bad thing, because once you take that bite, it's hard to not take another bite.
Yeah. Or Sarah, how about this one? I'm going to be doing so much exercise while I'm away. I can ease up a little bit. I mean, there are 1,000 of them, right?
I think that one's the Disney World excuse that we
all that walking.
Uh-huh.
Oh yes, of course. Jennifer knows about that. She was at Disney World a couple weeks ago. All right. So Spencer, what traveling have you done? And let's hear about some of the strategies that you employed that made the biggest difference for you to staying on track. And again, in phase one, in the box.
Definitely. So I've taken a couple family trips by car, and I've gone by plane to Florida and to the mountains. And then also I travel back to see my family every week. I work here in Jackson, and then family's back home in Clarksville, and it's about 2 hours away. So it's a day trip almost every week that I go back and be with them. So I think the biggest thing is just planning. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, as they say. So whether that's planning out what meals you're going to take, I always took my food with me when we went on long trips, and then obviously I take it when I go home every week. And then just previewing the restaurants. Like I have like one of there's 3 restaurant choices that we usually eat after church, and I can get something there that's, in the box, vegetable plate or whatever it may be. So, and then also just making sure everybody knows what you're doing and communicating that, hey, I'm doing this and this is what it entails and this is why I'm doing it. And I haven't had any, issues or confrontations with that. Everybody's usually really supportive and trying to push you towards your goal.
So such a basic strategy that you mentioned here. It's echoed multiple times in the comments here about bringing your foods with you. All the hope in the world isn't going to get you where you want to go if you don't bring your foods with you. Spencer, I want to come back to, was it worth it? Because, you were not partaking of what others, and I want to actually, guys, let's share a screen here. So there you are. Talk to us as we're looking at this achievement that you've pulled off here. Tell us why it was worth it for you to be tough with yourself and to do whatever it took to be in the box.
Definitely. And I don't think you realize, how unhealthy or, whatever it is until you look back on it, and definitely look at that as eye-opening. But, for me, it's just, being healthier overall, and it was definitely worth it. Anything that you may give up along the way, it's 100% worth it as you get the end results. And, I still have a journey to go before I get where I ultimately want to go. But just being healthier overall, it's worth every piece of it.
That's great. Now, again, you listed a number of different strategies. Is there any one strategy above the rest? People are always looking for that zinger to take from the conversation. Is there any one that if you hadn't done it, it could be something you've already said, it really would have thrown you off more than anything else?
It would have to be the planning. If you didn't spend some time thinking about it, you're not going to get anywhere without bringing your food. But if you don't plan, if you go on a trip and you don't have your food, or you don't have your shakes, or you don't have an idea of where you're going to eat or where you're going to source stuff that's in your box, you're going to end up somewhere that doesn't have those good options. So the planning is it 100%.
You have a blender where you were going?
Oh yeah, I have a couple blenders. I've got the normal bullet at home, and then there's a battery powered one that charges with USB. And then I've gotten where, the shakes are kind of like a utility. So I use them in the blender bottle. So you have a blender bottle that you can just shake up and take with you. So
that's great. That's great. I asked that just because, Sarah, you'll appreciate this, being a fellow tennis player. A group of us went down, and I called the hotel that we were staying at ahead of time. I said, "You have a blender?" They had the microwave, but they didn't have the blender. And I said, "We need a blender." "Well, we don't have one." I said, "Well, if you go buy one, you'll always be able to say you have one when people like me call." And they got a blender for us. And we were blasting smoothies the whole weekend.
That's
it was great. So you got to have a blender. There are a lot of really great strategies being offered here in the comments. I'm not going to try to reflect them here. I would like to, Sarah, I'd like to move on to you. You have just a fantastic story to share about being in the box. And I would just ask our audience a question. Not all of you will be able to answer this, but did you ever stay in the box in an unusual place? Did you ever persevere and stay in the box in a remote or interesting, unusual place, something that's worth sharing? Because I'll be surprised if you beat what Sarah is about to share in terms of where she stayed in the box. So to the audience, where have you stayed in the box, which was pretty impressive? Anything is impressive, but if you've got one that's unusual or interesting, please share that. Take it away, Sarah. Tell us about your traveling and what you did.
Yeah, so I have a family that lives in Switzerland, and I usually go there around Christmas time. And so one year when I was, I guess it was, I'd probably lost about 75 pounds at that point. But my family said, guess what? We're going to do something really exciting. We're going to spend the night in an igloo on the Matterhorn. And so I thought, well, how in the world do you stay in the box? And of course, the food that they had there, being Switzerland, they had for everyone for that night, it would be fondue. And they had hot tea, and that was all they offered. It wasn't like a restaurant. It was just an igloo with a hot pot. And so I'll tell you one big strategy with anytime you're taking a big trip like that. I think the first thing that I did was I got with my coach and I said, okay, I'm about to go on this trip and I do not want to get out of the box. And, and it's not only just the igloo, it's Switzerland too. I mean, you've got the land of chocolate, cheese, wine, everything that croissants, and so I really had to do a lot of planning. In addition to that, you've got the big long flight, right? An overnight flight. You've got 2 meals that are being served to you on the flight that are not going to be in the box. It doesn't matter what meal. I mean, I requested my trick is kind of to request a vegan meal, and I hope that there's going to be a lot of extra vegetables that would be in the box, but it doesn't matter if it's not, because I've got a backpack full of entrees and fruits and vegetables, what I can carry. And I've also, but anyway, in the igloo, what I had for dinner while everyone else was having fondue was they did have hot water. And so I knew that was there. So I had my chicken soup packets, and I had probably 2 chicken soup packets with the hot water. And I had an entree. There was no microwave, but you kind of figure out which ones are okay for, you can kind of pretend they're like a salad of some sort. I think one of the chicken and rice ones to me is a salad in my mind. So, but anyway, I made it through, did not get out of the box. And I mean, it's a good feel. It's a like triumphant feeling when you're walking down a mountain and thought, how did I do HMR up there, with no vegetables, no fruits. And the key to that is I really literally brainstormed the whole thing with my coach and said, well, okay, you need to carry plastic spoons with you in your backpack, because what if you don't have a spoon for your soup? It's the same thing when you're traveling on a plane. You need to carry all the things that you might need in an airport, because you get stuck. What if you get stuck somewhere, and of course, pretty much one of my whole luggage was filled with entrees and shakes. And I was, and like Spencer said, I had notified my family that I was on the diet. And so for my Christmas present, they got me a NutriBullet that was over there. And so I carried it around everywhere, and I was able to be successful, but it was a lot of planning, and just really kind of coming up with strategies for every situation.
Sara, did you do an entree on the plane?
I did.
Yeah, I've done many entrees on the. I'm wondering in our audience, has anyone ever done an entree on a plane? It's, for some people, they might not think of it. And, we always people often will say, I don't like the idea of a cold entree. Well, it's room temperature. It doesn't have to be cold. Now, in the igloo, it might have actually been cold.
Right.
But room temperature entrees, there are some that just really work. Everyone's different which ones they prefer, but it gets the job done. I mean, people eat cold pizza the next day, out in society, right? After a Friday night. So you can eat room temperature entrees, and boy, does that get you past that urge curve.
Well, and I don't think that the plain food is that good anyway. It's not like it's something you're looking forward to eating. So it's fine to eat the entree. One of the things about traveling is that you feel like people, at first when I started the diet, I felt like taking an entree into a restaurant or somewhere that I felt like people were looking at me. But in the end, you realize that people are very much interested in what they're eating and not what you're eating. And if you eat an entree on a plane, nobody cares one way or the other if you do that. But, even in the traveling, I you're nervous about carrying things through the airport. You don't know whether somebody's going to stop you because you have a bag full of food or something. And I remember I got a letter from the coach that was, we had a doctor at the time at the lift. And so they wrote me a letter and said, she's on a special diet and this is her special food, and it made me feel better, but nobody ever stopped me. I had no trouble with the security, with the TSA. I mean, you can travel. It's there. You just need to do it and try it, and it's going to work.
Boy, you left no stone unturned.
No, I was worried.
Unbelievable. Spencer, for you too, just like incredible planning from both of you guys. Really very, very impressive. Here's a question for everyone watching and also the audience. Have you ever made a 70+ pudding on a plane?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, many. Many. All right, now I'm going to really, Carrie, have you ever made it in the packet?
Yes. Well, I do that even here at my desk sometimes.
Yes, you can actually, all you need is a spoon and water. You don't even need a cup in those desperate moments.
Work with the fork before. So.
Yeah. 15 grams of protein, takes a while to eat it. Boy, does that save you from going down some paths where you'd be succumbing to temptation. One more question for you, Sara, since you are, clearly we're speaking plain here, as you mentioned, the plain food. Back to the igloo.
Okay.
Being honest, in the world that it's so easy to rationalize, what could you have said? I mean, you're in an igloo. This is like a once in a lifetime situation. And it's just a little bit of fondue. You know what I mean? It could have been so easy.
Oh, and I think, that's what's hard about travel is that it is so easy to say, oh gosh, am I ever going to be in an igloo again, eating fondue and having wine or whatever? I don't even know what they had for dessert, but
right.
But I one of the things about the igloo is that we had to hike to get there, and I knew that if I had that 75 pounds, that would have been virtually impossible for me to do because it wasn't an easy hike, but it was a challenge. But I think once you really just losing weight feels so good that there's just nothing that tastes better than that.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Well, that's why we started before we got into these strategies with the mindset. You can't skip over that part, because if you're not really planning this out and if you're not really committed, all the strategies in the world really aren't going to add up to the results that you're looking for. All right, let's move into, I'm remiss. I should have asked same question I asked Spencer. Was it worth it? To persevere? Say a little bit more. Look at this.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
I mean, and of course you're a tennis player too. And I mean, you just don't realize how much faster you are on court when you've lost 150 pounds. I mean, like there are shots that I just don't even believe I can get to. And all of a sudden I'm there, like faster, too fast even,
Yes.
And
Yes.
it just makes a difference in the quality of your life. And it changes everything.
Absolutely. That's not hard to believe. Looking at that phenomenal accomplishment there, as evidenced by that photo. You getting both of you. I should have mentioned it, Spencer, when we showed your picture. Please go back and watch this event and look at some of the really heartfelt acknowledgments from people in the audience, just saying what an amazing job both of you guys have done. Really, really great. All right, now again, a lot of good strategies in the feed. You guys have shared strategies. Before we finish, I want to do, maybe we could call it sort of like a lightning round, where we do a final brainstorm. I'm inviting the audience as well. I know many of you have already shared some things that you've done when you're traveling. And again, travel, leaving the house, either for the day or for the week or the month. Okay, it's challenging out there. You need a plan and you need strategies to plan. So what other strategies are there that have made a difference for you? Speaking to all of you on the screen and also our audience, just chime in. What haven't we covered that bears highlighting that can make a difference?
One of the things that Spencer almost touched on it, looking at the menu before you go into the place. That's just probably the number one thing to do, is to plan what you're going to eat when you get there.
Yeah, big one. Big one. A lot of people, it doesn't occur to them to do that. But also be creative. I mean, there are the sides of veggies, right? But then it's what other veggies are in maybe the meals that aren't there listed as sides, and then you jump into that role of being, you know that movie Harry Met Sally, her at the at the restaurant where she's a little difficult, shall we say? That's me at the restaurants. I insist, and you know what else I've learned, guys? I'm going to order a lot of side orders of it's usually broccoli, of vegetables. You're going to think I'm ordering too many. You won't be. I'm not. So I always try to let them know I'm a little freakish around that. And it's worth it. When you get at a restaurant, what you wanted, and you know you're going to stay on track, it's so worth it. What other strategies, guys? Anything else?
I think a big one that I recommend for everybody, even myself, even though I did phase one myself for a little bit, but do not go in a tempting environment hungry. Just don't do it. It's like you're setting yourself up in a way, whether even if it's the grocery store. Don't go in the grocery store hungry if that, is tempting for you. Have the double shake. If it's even a family dinner, that's always a number one strategy. It's just to control your environment enough, whether you're traveling, going over to a different environment, just never go anywhere hungry, because this diet, you don't have to be hungry.
Absolutely. Yep. I just grab my two. I start, if I'm traveling somewhere, I start with the 70 plus package. We've already talked about that. Not just as the pudding, but I like shaking them, like you were saying, Spencer. Put ice in there, just shake it up vigorously, but then also the HMR bars as well. That helps me to avoid desserts. I like, if I'm in a hotel room or whatnot, I always make sure I get a hot cup of tea, but having the HMR bars there as well as the 70 plus makes a huge difference for me. It helps me to stay on track. Any other ideas before we turn the corner here and wrap up our episode, guys?
I think if you are in the car, a couple of the strategies, if you're driving somewhere, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but around in our parts, if you go to a truck stop, usually like Love's is what I'm thinking of, they always have fruit there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you pick the right one of those big truck stops, you're going to be able to find something, because you just feel like when you go into a truck, get gas or something, that you want to get something. I think we're like just meant to do that, but you can get fruit at places like Love's truck stop. And the other thing that I do, and I'm not plugging, nobody's paying me to say this, but also I plot out the Wendy's because I'm
the potatoes.
Yes, I'm looking for my potatoes. And so I kind of figure out, okay, I'm going to plan to eat lunch on my way down to wherever I'm going and stop at this Wendy's for my potato and put my chili on top of it,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I would even extend beyond the truck stops. And actually someone, Tanya, just said she stops at the grocery store.
Oh, that's good.
Wherever the destination is, if there's a grocery store, why not? Why
Right.
not stock up with a lot of foods that you can say yes to?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, talk about making a difference. Having the foods there, it makes all the difference. All right, so a lot of good strategies. Again, many in the feed that'll be worth checking out. I think we can, so let me just make a final sort of concluding point here. I'm going to say it a little differently than you did, Spencer, but with these strategies and bringing the urgency, yeah, I'll just say it again. If you don't have a plan, the world has a plan for you.
Right.
And everyone watching is working way too hard on whether it's weight loss or weight management to walk into your vacation backwards and to not know or have a strategy or set of strategies that you can fall back on. It just leads to, again, that 3 steps forward that is so hard to do, and then 2 steps backward, and then you have to re-lose weight that you had to work so hard to lose in the first place. So any of these strategies, if you can bring them into whatever travel that you have coming up, short trips, long trips, anything that you can do to be more intentional so that you're taking the reins and not having the environments that you're in determining your food choices, it will be worth it. It will be worth it. And I think you can get that from both of our guests. I put both of your pictures up, and it's just real clear. It was worth it to both of you to go all the way to whatever it took to stay in the box. So I want to thank our guests, guys. It's been great. And the whole team from Lyft, wonderful. Really great conversation, very timely conversation. And as always, I want to thank everyone who's in the audience watching as well. It wouldn't be the same without all of the great comments and the support that you guys provide. we hope this conversation was helpful. And I hope it has provided some inspiration with the two wonderful stories with Spencer and Sarah, but also that you did get some practical ideas for staying on track while you were traveling. In either case, good luck with your travel if you've got something coming up. And I think we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And everyone, have a great week and good travel if you're going somewhere. Take care.